Live with CDP, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast live on YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitter, and on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and Anchor FM. Now here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Season 5, Episode 18 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet, 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210 and tell them that Chris Palme sent you as well. And also, guys, you can do your pre-orders of the all-electric Cadillac Lyriq or the all-electric Silverado at Barry Cullen Chevrolet as well. Guys, I'm looking forward to my guest tonight, and bear with me, and I'm going to bring him on, and we're going to talk some National Football League. My guest's name tonight is Ben Volin. He's the senior NFL writer with the Boston Globe, AP NFL voter, and he's covered the NFL since 2007 and also covered the New England Patriots for 4 of their Super Bowl runs as well. So just bear with me, guys, and I'm going to bring on Ben Volin from the Boston Globe. Good evening, Ben. How you doing?
Chris, what's up, man? Thanks for having me.
No problem. I hope you don't mind me wearing my Eagles hat tonight.
Doesn't bother me in the slightest. That was one of the craziest games I've ever been to. Never in a million years thought that Doug Peterson and Nick Foles would knock off Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. But yeah, that was an epic game, and a tough week in Minnesota. It was like 30 below every day, and we're stuck out. It felt like Fargo. It was like a bleak, winter landscape in Minneapolis. But that was a crazy game, and yeah, still pretty mind blowing that Nick Foles was able to knock off Tom Brady.
Yeah, because that year the Eagles were 13-3 or 13-2 when Wentz went out with an ACL. And even myself, being an Eagle fan, was thinking, hey, Foles is a serviceable quarterback at the time. But I honestly did not think we would even get to the Super Bowl. The Eagles would get to the Super Bowl and win it. But it just shows you, Ben, any given Sunday, anyone can be beat in the National Football League.
Yeah, I think it gives a team like the 49ers a lot of hope, whereas people like me, I will readily admit, when I saw that Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, 7th-round pick is going to be their starting quarterback, I said, well, that's it for the Niners. There's no way they can win a Super Bowl. But I think that 2017 Eagles team is a good example. If you have great coaching, a great defense, great people around the quarterback, you can win with a subpar talent there. And that's not to say that Nick Foles was subpar. I think he was fantastic that year in that run, and Brock Purdy has been excellent too. So, I think that 2017 Eagles team shows you that Doug Peterson is a heck of a coach, and I think he's proving it again this year with Jacksonville, with the run that the Jaguars are on now in the second half of the season. I think Doug Peterson is proving that he certainly can coach, and that even if you're a little deficient at quarterback, if you have great coaching and built up a good team around him, maybe Brock Purdy can lead the Niners to a Super Bowl. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I have to ask you this since you cover the Patriots as well. Do you see any similarities to Brock Purdy to a younger Tom Brady when he first came into the National Football League?
I mean, the story is similar in that Brady was a 6th-round pick. Purdy's a 7th-rounder. Brady was actually the 4th-string quarterback his first year. Belichick really bent over backwards to keep Tom Brady. He obviously saw something in his rookie training camp, but Brady wasn't even really supposed to be on the team. He's teams never keep 4 quarterbacks. So in that sense, no question, Purdy, late round guy, overlooked in the draft. No one had any expectations for him, and here he is, coming out of nowhere, leading his team. It's a little different because Brady really had to navigate the whole season. Purdy has just been on not to demean anything that Purdy is doing here, but he's just kind of picked up the train, mid steam here, and hasn't had to play as many games and traverse through as many minefields, I guess, as Brady did that 2001 season. But Purdy's been phenomenal. He was the highest rated quarterback in the NFL in December and January. He's just been lights out, and I think it's a credit, A, to him, but B, to Kyle Shanahan for being a heck of a coach, and him and John Lynch really building up a great team around Brock Purdy. And the Niners look very dangerous, and I think they might be the best team in the NFC right now.
Yeah, because as for the Eagles, they have not really played well the last month. I guess Hurts' injury had something to do with it as well, and they really didn't face a lot of adversity this season until having to beat the Giants to get the number 1 seed and stuff like that. But I'm hoping with Hurts back, Lane Johnson back, C.J. Gardner-Johnson back in the secondary, and Dallas Goedert being healthy as well will help the Eagles against the Giants. And it won't be an easy game against the Giants on Saturday night in Philadelphia. I was going to say something to you, Ben, as well. I was at Tom Brady's first ever NFL game on July 31st, 2000 at Canton, Ohio. Niners, Patriots. My friend Todd, who's a Niners fan, dragged me to the game. I had food poisoning. Didn't want to go, wasn't feeling good at all, and I'm glad he dragged me there. I still have the ticket stub, and I remember it was Bledsoe, Michael Bishop, who actually played in the CFL with the Toronto Argonauts, John Freeze, and a kid from Michigan. I'm a Michigan fan, by the way, named Tom Brady, and it was a Monday night game with Al Michaels, and I think it was Miller. I think one of the Miller.
Dennis Miller.
Dennis Miller, yes.
Wow. That's great. I was going to say, I hope you have the ticket stub from that. That's a collectible right there.
Still do, and I've had people offer me money for it.
That's cool. That is really cool. Brady probably played like a quarter, if that.
Yeah.
And it is wild. I mean, I think about that all the time when you're at like a training camp. You never know 4 months later who the hero is going to be, or who's going to have some life-altering moment, kind of good or bad. It is kind of wild that these guys can go from anonymity to front and center in an instant. We see that with Tom Brady, and you see that with a guy like Damar Hamlin too. I mean, just the popularity of the NFL, it just makes these guys instant superstars overnight almost. It's pretty amazing.
Speaking of Damar Hamlin, I just wanted your quick thoughts on Damar Hamlin and then the NFL not rescheduling that Monday night game with Cincinnati, in your opinion.
Yeah, that was a tough spot. There seemed to be a lot of confusion that night, and I think some of it came from the fact that I saw there was an article from ESPN where some people from the teams thought that Troy Vincent just was not handling things well that night, and that's why it took so long for the game to be canceled, and that's why there was confusion about is the game going to start up there. I just think there wasn't clear communication, but the NFL, they really didn't have anything to apologize for. I mean, in all the sports, hockey, baseball, I mean, the game always resumes. There's a protocol, you take some time, and the games always resume. So I don't blame necessarily the NFL or the people who are saying it. I think it was the people in the instant replay booth, like Walt Anderson and Perry Fuel. I don't blame them for kind of going through the protocols of how to return to play. And that's all the NFL had to say is usually, these games start up again. And that's why there was initial talk. But obviously this was a unique situation, and everyone involved said there was no way they could continue. And so we made the unprecedented step to cancel the game. And so I was a little surprised that the Bills got back on the plane that night and flew home. I thought that maybe they would try to just squeeze the game in on Tuesday, and I think the Bengals probably preferred that. But from what I've heard, speaking to a couple guys with the Bills, they saw some things on the field that night that they're not going to be able to unsee, and that was just a tough scene for all of them to see their brother Damar Hamlin fighting for his life. So the Bills, there was just no way that they could play that game. And I think the NFL did the right thing. Instead of moving 20 different games around and pushing the playoffs back and eliminating they did the right thing. The quickest, easiest solution was just to cancel the game. I thought the compromise they came up with, I think it was pretty good because no one seemed totally happy. The Chiefs weren't thrilled that they lost, the total home field advantage. The Bills weren't thrilled that they lost the opportunity to get the number 1 seed. The Bengals aren't thrilled about how this all shook out. Now the Bengals have to go play the Bills in Buffalo this Sunday. The Bengals had won that game. This game would probably be in Cincinnati this week. So I think no one is thrilled with the solution, which means they probably found the right compromise. A very unique situation. Obviously, the health of Damar Hamlin is what is most important. Great to see his miraculous recovery. So that's just been remarkable to see. But I think the NFL ultimately handled it well. And to me, the biggest takeaway was how incredible the medical personnel is and how they train for these situations that never happen. And then when they finally do, I had someone give me this great analogy. Imagine you take one trick play and you rep it one time in training camp in August at half speed against no defense. And then all of a sudden it's the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl and they say, Philly special. And you got to run in there against the defense, championship on the line and execute everything to perfection. And that's what the medical staffs did in saving Damar Hamlin's life. So just an incredible job by them. And like I said, I think the NFL probably handled it the best way they could by canceling the game and coming up with that compromise solution.
I was going to say I was at the Buffalo-Denver game in September 2007 at Archer Park when the Bills tight end Kevin Everett was paralyzed. They stopped the game for almost an hour. People in the stands, including myself, didn't know if he was alive or what. And once they took him away, they restarted the game, and the fans never really got back into it. And I think the players too had a hard time getting emotionally charged because what happened to Everett, their tight end, being paralyzed was pretty serious as well.
Yeah, that's a tough thing. That's a real dynamic that the Bills are going to have to deal with now. They overcame their emotions in that first game against the Patriots. I was fortunate enough to be there that day. And, the 2 kickoff returns from Nyheim Hines certainly helped. But to me, it was interesting. Even after that game, it felt like a Disney movie. Their first game back, they win the game, the 2 touchdowns. It just it should be a feel-good day. I think it was Tre'Davious White in his post-game press conference. He's like, man, I'm never going to be able to unsee that. We still have our issues that we have to deal with here. It's not a clean break. And I also remember I was talking to someone who remembers the Chargers about a decade ago. They had a situation where a player on the flight home had a seizure, and it was unsettling for the players. And I think they lost their next 5 games after that. So Sean McDermott is really going to be tested as a coach here to keep his team together. I think Damar Hamlin, seeing him improve so much is going to help that a lot. But still, that's not an easy thing for these guys to see their teammate, almost die on the field and all the mental ramifications that go with that for the rest of them. So that's definitely going to be a tough deal for the Bills. But also at the same time, I think football-wise, the Bills need to just stop being so reckless with the football. They were 3rd in the NFL this year with giveaways. Josh Allen always trying to play hero ball. So they just need to be, they had 3 turnovers, I think, against the Dolphins the other day. They're not going to be able to get away with that against the Bengals. So the Bills have just been a little sloppy the last several weeks. And that usually comes back to bite you in the playoffs.
One thing I wanted to ask you, Ben, I know Brian Daboll is now with the Giants, the head coach. How much of an impact with him leaving and Ken Dorsey taking over the offensive coordinator? Because it seems to me Daboll knew how to use Allen's talents or rein him in better than Ken Dorsey, in my opinion, so far this year.
I'm not going to say I've watched all, 1,000 snaps that Josh Allen has taken this year, because usually I'm at the Patriots games. But, it looks like the Bills offense still operationally is pretty good this year with Josh Allen running the show. But, yeah, it's been sloppy. And Daboll I think he's proven with Daniel Jones that he's just a heck of a coach and really knows how to maximize guys' talent. And you do wonder with Ken Dorsey how much of the play calling is him trying to make an impact for himself and to kind of show people what he can do as an offensive coordinator. Let's dial something up here as opposed to taking maybe a safer play. I've heard a little bit of rumblings that Josh Allen and Dorsey both maybe try to do a little bit too much sometimes. And that maybe, for a guy like Dorsey thinking about, wanting to become a head coach one day, that that maybe they need to rein things in a little bit there and take the safer play and not be so risky, because 27 giveaways in the regular season, that's a recipe for disaster. And you can't have 3 giveaways against the Bengals or the Chiefs or any of the teams that the Bills are going to play from here on out. So definitely, I think the offense still is pretty good. I think Ken Dorsey is a very good coach, and the Bills offense has looked good, but there's no denying that Dable is an excellent coach, and that Ken Dorsey has never really done it before on these big stages as far as really calling the plays. So this is, I'd say, definitely going to be a big proving ground for Ken Dorsey throughout the rest of the playoffs as well.
And you could say the same with the Jaguars as well. They got away with 5 turnovers against the Chargers and coming back from 27-0, but I cannot see them doing that against Patrick Mahomes and that Kansas City Chiefs team at Arrowhead Stadium. If they turn it over 5 times, it's going to be a long day for them as well.
No question. And yeah, the Chiefs are not going to be giving up any 27-0 leads. What's amazing too is not only did the Jaguars have the 5 turnovers, but it's not like the Chargers really wasted the turnovers. I think they scored points off every one. They built up a 27-0 cushion. That should be plenty. But yeah, the Chiefs are not a team that's going to be giving up that kind of comeback. Patrick Mahomes can always keep his foot on the gas and is always a threat to score. And it does feel like maybe the Jaguars' Cinderella run, they might finally turn into a pumpkin this Saturday against the Chiefs. But, it is the whole dynamic and X factor of Doug Peterson going up against Andy Reid. Similar systems there. Obviously, I think Doug Peterson knows Andy Reid very well. So how much of the familiarity changes the matchup, that's going to be something interesting to watch. And Doug Peterson is a heck of a coach. He's a really solid coach. They've gotten a lot out of Trevor Lawrence this year, done a really nice job in getting the most out of him and building the team around him. So maybe we're foolish to count the Jaguars out at this point. They keep proving us wrong week in and week out. But the Chiefs are just, I think, head and shoulders above everyone else this year. They're the analytics, especially on offense. These guys are just blowing everyone else out of the water as far as, expected points added and completion percentage over expected. And Patrick Mahomes is just, he might be a unanimous MVP. If not, it's going to be pretty darn close. He was my pick for MVP. So the Chiefs just look like a wagon this year. And to me, they're my pick in the AFC right now.
NFL Coach of the Year. I know everyone's saying Brian Dable, and I have no issues with that, but I think they should have a co-winner, Dable and Doug Peterson, for the jobs they've done with the Giants and Jaguars, in my opinion.
So I had a vote, and I actually took Nick Sirianni because to me, I put a lot of value in coming in first place. And, people I think had expectations for the Eagles to make the playoffs this year.
Yes.
No one thought they'd be 14-3.
Nope.
What did they finish? Number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts playing like an MVP candidate. They could have been maybe 16-1, if he doesn't get hurt. So I picked Nick Sirianni. There were so many good options this year. Why is Andy Reid not a candidate? They trade away Tyreek Hill, and the offense is more dynamic than ever. I think Sean McDermott has done an incredible job of managing the pressure and the expectations, which have just been so just rife in Buffalo this year. There's so much pressure on them to get back and finally get to the Super Bowl, and they've done it. They've managed it well, and kept leading his team through the DeMar Hamlin situation. Brian Dable, Kevin O'Connell, 13-4 with Minnesota, Doug Peterson. I think they're Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco. He deserved it. Zach Taylor. I think the Bengals have been a real nice surprise this year to come back from that Super Bowl loss. So there are so many good candidates for Coach of the Year. Very interested to see how the vote shakes out. But I personally gave it to Nick Sirianni because I don't think anyone had the Eagles being the number 1 seed and being as good as they were this year.
I had them down originally. back in August with my picks as a 10 or 11 win team. 10, 11 wins and fighting with Dallas for that division. And yes, I really think one of the best moves. Everyone talks about Christian McCaffrey with the Niners, but A.J. Brown getting him from the Titans and giving the Eagles their first elite receiver since Terrell Owens has helped, and has also helped the development of Hurts and also Devontae Smith as well.
Yeah, the Eagles are just a great example of how when you build up around the quarterback, how you can just get the most out of him. And I think that Patriots fans are wishing they had that a little bit. You have a quarterback in Mac Jones who's not the most physically gifted. You put a bunch of B and C level receivers around him, and you're not getting much out of him or the offense. And he takes a step back in his second year, where you see Jalen Hurts now. He's got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Goddard, a great run game, this RPO game that everyone's in single coverage. Hurts himself is such a weapon. So yeah, the Eagles have just it's a really good story this year. The one thing that worries me about the Eagles is Hurts' shoulder, and I think he might be a little more injured than he's letting on right now. And playing the Giants too, it feels like a bad draw for them, even though I know they beat them twice in the regular season. Dable's a heck of a coach. That's not a guy I want to see right now in the postseason. And beating a team 3 times, that's not so easy. But Howie Roseman, I didn't get the AP. They don't do executive of the year, so that wasn't something we voted on. But he'd be my pick. The team they built up around Jalen Hurts is very impressive. And it just goes to show that you can't just count on the quarterback to carry you. You have to give him the pieces, and then that really gets the most out of everyone.
Absolutely. If you got time for just a couple more minutes, I just got a couple quick Patriots questions I wanted to ask you, Ben.
Absolutely.
And the first one I wanted to ask you was, do you feel Tom Brady will retire after this loss to Dallas, or do you see Brady playing at least one more year on another team?
Yeah, I think at least one more year. I'd be shocked if he retires. If you go back and read his comments from the last month, from his press conferences, from his podcast, he loves football. He's all in. He just keeps talking about, I love ball. I love film study. I love talking about it with the guys. I love the preparation. Football is his life. I've always kind of called him Peter Pan. He's kind of afraid of growing up a little bit. He just wants to play football. And it's like, now that, the divorce and the family stuff is kind of out of the way, like, play till you're 50. Like, let's keep pushing it. Let's see how far you can go. I think as long as he's willing to do the diet and the exercise and to keep his body right, I think he can do it. I mean, he was not the Bucs' problem this year. Everyone else was around him. The offensive line, the receivers, the coaching, it was all a mess. Brady still threw for 733 pass attempts this year and played, pretty well, and carried on his team for some fourth quarter comebacks. So I definitely think he plays next year. I've got the Raiders circled. I think it makes too much sense. It was about to happen 2 years ago. He wanted it. The owner wanted it. It was just the coach, John Gruden. He didn't want it. Now you've got Josh McDaniels there. They can bring in Gronk. They've got Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow and Max Crosby. It's I think a pretty good situation. Playing a dome, all that stuff. And then they can still draft a quarterback and slowly develop him behind Brady and Jarrett Stidham too. So to me, it'd be an ideal situation for the Raiders to go get Tom Brady. Makes all the sense in the world to me. Maybe the Niners, maybe the Titans, maybe the Panthers or Dolphins. But to me, it's got to be, I think the Raiders are the clear answer. And again, I'd be shocked if Brady doesn't play next year.
Do you think their offensive line is good enough to protect Brady, since Brady's losing his mobile? Well, he was never a mobile quarterback, but being 46, do you think the Raiders' offensive line right now, as is, would be good enough to protect Brady next year if he comes to Vegas?
Yeah, I mean, look, they might need to tinker and improve 1 or 2 spots, but Brady had the quickest time to throw this year. And Brady always makes his offensive line because of how decisive he is and how quickly he gets the ball out. And he's his own best, protector. It's not a coincidence that, he gets to the Bucs a couple years ago and like 3 of their offensive linemen make the Pro Bowl. But like Brady, with his decision-making and quick release and getting the ball out, not that he makes the offensive linemen, but he makes their jobs, I think, easier. So yes, I think if Brady goes to the Raiders, I think, you'll magically see a lot of those guys improve and get better.
Definitely. And last question I wanted to ask you, Ben. Do you like the direction that the Patriots franchises is currently at and looking to go forward to 2023? And do you see major changes with the coaching staff and player personnel? And thoughts on Matthew Slater and Devin McCourty's status for 2023?
Sure. Do I love the direction of the franchise? Not especially. And it's mostly because I'm not a big Mac Jones believer. I think, physically, he doesn't have any plus traits, doesn't have a big arm, big frame. He's not a runner or anything like that. And it's hard for a young quarterback to win in the NFL to have to rely on your brain and your smarts and your accuracy. And, I definitely think he didn't get great coaching this year and they didn't put the best talent around him. But this to me is just kind of a middling franchise until they get better quarterbacking. And I just don't think they're going to be too competitive against Mahomes and Burrow and Allen and Herbert and Lawrence and all these great young quarterbacks without an upgrade at quarterback. I think they're going to keep Mac Jones throughout his rookie contract, but I don't know if he's a guy you want to give a second contract to. I just don't know if he brings enough to the table that you want to really build your team around Mac Jones. Also with Bill Belichick, I think we're seeing that he's a much more mortal coach now without Tom Brady. The Patriots have these embarrassing losses, like the one with the Raiders, the Las Vegas lateral, and the coaching staff isn't nearly what it used to be. They say they're going to bring in an offensive coordinator now. If they bring in Bill O'Brien, I don't know, is that the most inspiring hire? I mean, he's an accomplished coach, but it's just kind of a retread. It's just going back to the old well. It seems like they're just kind of hanging around because they want Belichick to get the all-time wins record from Don Shula. He's probably 2 to 3 seasons away from that. And if they can go 9-8, 10-7, make the playoffs, I think they're happy with it. But they're not really competing, I don't think, for Super Bowls. They're not going to be one of the elite teams. And so I don't love the direction right now of the Patriots. They just seem like a very middling team. Yeah, there's going to be some tinkering with the roster. Nelson Aguilar is going to be gone, and maybe they cut Jonnu Smith, even though they still owe him $6 million guaranteed this year. And Kendrick Bourne, had a weird season. Maybe he's on the out. So there's going to be some tinkering. But I think the bigger picture is, do they get the right coaching staff in place, and can they get better coaches to put Mac Jones and these guys in better situations? Just because I think the coaching, it was an easy scapegoat last year to just blame Matt Patricia and Joe Judge for everything. But there's no question these guys, are learning on the fly, and they're not as accomplished. They don't have a great system like a lot of these young, sharp offensive coordinators around the league. So as far as Devin McCourty and Matthew Slater, it certainly seems like they're leaning both towards retirement. I think they're probably a package deal. I think they both can still play, and that the Patriots could use their leadership in the locker room next year, especially Slater. As a special teams guy, he deals with all the really young guys on the team who play special teams. And so I think it's really helpful to have a veteran like Slater in the locker room. And I think the world of McCourty as well. And I think he's still a very good player, put up some big stats this year. Still a coach on the field, can play all these different positions. Seems like they're leaning retirement, but you never know too if that's just guys that, at the end of the year being emotional. But they are going to be a package deal. So I don't think you'll see one of them come back and the other not. I think they'll go whatever they decide, it'll be together.
Definitely. And before I let you go, Ben, quickly, what are your picks for the divisional round games this weekend? And do you have a new Super Bowl pick yet? I think you originally had Tampa Bay and Buffalo.
Yeah, very good. I was more Tom Brady torment of the Bills is what I picked, but ultimately it just was not meant to be. I don't love the Bills right now. I mean, I guess I have to stick with them because it was my preseason pick, but I'm liking the Chiefs in the AFC, that's for sure. And I wanted to pick the Eagles, but again, Hurts' shoulder has me worried. I guess I'll pick chalk for now. Eagles, Chiefs, the Andy Reid Bowl. That'd be a lot of fun. But the Niners are looking like a wagon right now too. So the NFC that's a tricky one. Those are some darn good teams left in the NFC. To me, I think that the Chiefs are head and shoulders above everyone else in the AFC. So that's kind of where I'm leading there. And Andy Reid, been kind of a quiet season for him, but he just gets it done. And not, like it's weird that they don't always get all the attention in the spotlight because they're almost like old news at this point. But Andy Reid, Mahomes, and Kelsey and those guys, they just keep getting it done, and their offense retooling it on the fly this year. They did a great job, and a Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl, I think, would be a lot of fun for everyone.
Crossing my fingers, and like you said, two of the greatest Eagles coaches are still in, Andy Reid and Doug Peterson, and Nick Sirianni's done a great job. But Ben, I was going to say thank you so much for coming on. And where can my audience follow you on social media and stuff like that?
Sure. Please follow me. Excuse me. Please follow me on Twitter. My name is Ben Volin. That's BenVolin. And then you can please read my work at bostonglobe.com.
I was going to say, I'm a big fan of yours. I enjoy your articles, and I'm actually taking up some digital writing as well. Still learning how to do it, but I just love media, doing the podcast, and meeting great guests like yourself, Ben. And I really want to say thank you so much for giving me some time tonight to come on live with CDP Sports Talk and talk a little NFL and some New England Patriots football. I'd love to have you back on again as a guest in the future.
Yeah, Chris, anytime. You do a great job. Thanks so much for having me on. This was really fun.
Thank you so much, Ben. Have a great night.
Thanks, you too.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed season 5, episode 18 of Live with CDP Sports Talk tonight with Ben Volin, the senior writer for the NFL for the Boston Globe, and he also covers the New England Patriots as well. Before we wrap up this podcast show, guys, I'm just going to show you an interview I did a week and a half ago with crossbody pro wrestlers Kyle Boone and Shiloh. Hey, everybody. It's your bro, CDP. I'm here at Crossbody Pro Wrestling in Cambridge, Ontario tonight, and I'm with my guests, Kyle Boone and his manager, Shiloh. How you guys doing? What did you think of the match tonight, Kyle?
Well, I lost, so I'm not a big fan of that. Everything else was pretty good. Like, I beat him up pretty good, body slammed him, punched him in the face a couple times, slapped him around. That was cool, but
thoughts on the match, Shiloh?
I love these guys.
Travis Moore is a joke. Travis Moore is a joke. Thank you. Yeah. Travis Moore is a joke, and the fact that we even had to waste time in the ring with somebody like that is an insult to what we do, and that was a fluke. We both know it was a fluke. Everybody here knew it was a fluke, so we'll see what happens if we get in the ring with him again.
Now, are you still a wrestler, or are you doing both wrestling and being a manager now as well?
I'm very much a wrestler. I support Kyle and everything he does. We're a package deal. He supports me too, and that's why we're the best in Ontario.
I assume you're looking for a rematch with Travis?
Well, personally, I don't want to touch him again, but if I get paid enough, I will go against anybody and everyone.
Okay, Kyle. How did you get into pro wrestling, and who were some of your mentors or idols in the industry that got you into pro wrestling?
All right, so this is a pretty sick story. Oh yeah, I was at a beach one day, and there was a lifeguard. He was like, "Yeah, get out of the water. There's a shark." And I was like, "Ah," and everyone else was like, "Ah." And then everyone's running out. I see this big barrel-chested mofo come in. He's running towards the ocean. He has a sword tattoo on his chest. He grabs the shark, F5s it right there. And I was like, that was great, man. Like, I want to do that. What is that? And that was it.
I just saw it once and I thought it looked easy, and then I did it, and it was, and I'm great at it.
One last question for you. If you had a choice right now between WWE, AEW, which league would you choose? And do you have a favorite wrestler, particularly in both of those leagues right now?
I would want either one and also both of them at the same time, because come on, that'd be sweet. Triple H, you're my man. You're my favorite wrestler, and if you ever wanted to have me work for you, I'd be okay with it.
And I would go to whichever one would pay me more. And my favorite wrestler is Kyle Boone.
My second favorite wrestler is Shiloh, right after Triple H.
That's fair.
And how did you come about your finishing maneuver?
So I accidentally dropped this guy on his head once, and I was like, well, that worked. So I just started doing that.
And what's your finishing move, and how did you come about it?
I use a Famouser, and it's because I have big, soul-crushing legs, and I can do a lot of damage with them. I learned that in my late teens, so I've been doing that since.
And before I wrap this up, who's been your toughest opponent in the ring so far, Kyle and Shiloh?
Mine was Kyle.
I was just gonna say Shiloh. So
because we're the toughest wrestlers in Canada.
whether we team or go against each other.
Have you guys tag team together yet so far?
Yeah, we actually have at this great promotion right here. Actually, I believe you can watch it on Twitch at Crossbody Pro Wrestling.
Is that
And
I don't know the Twitch handle, but it's out there.
Twitch and YouTube.
yeah, Twitch and YouTube. So you can watch it there. Watch us go against Matt Grant and
Somebody else.
Crystal Moon. That girl.
I was gonna put you guys on the spot with this, but her turning heel tonight, I didn't see that coming.
Look, I don't know. She's a real bitch in the back. So
Just leave it at that. But I was gonna say, Kyle and Shiloh, thank you so much for coming on live with CDP here on YouTube, and hope to see you guys the next event here at Crossbody Pro Wrestling at 132 North Iagall Street here in Cambridge, Ontario. Again, guys, thanks for watching. Thank you for coming on, and we'll talk to you guys soon on Live with CDP Sports Talk. Good night, everybody. Okay, guys, that clip was courtesy of my YouTube channel, and that was Kyle Boone and Shiloh, pro wrestlers with Crossbody Pro Wrestling out of Cambridge, Ontario. Check it out. It's really good wrestling. $10 for adults, $5 for kids under 12, and they're at 132 Argyle Street North in Cambridge. Ben Ortmans is the owner and founder of Crossbody Pro Wrestling as well. Guys, again, I want to say thank you to my guest, Ben Volin, for coming on from the Boston Globe to talk NFL and New England Patriots. You can follow Ben on Twitter at Ben Volin. And also, guys, you can check him out on bostonglobe.com. Ben writes a lot of great articles about the National Football League and the New England Patriots as well. Ben is one of the best guys in the media industry and covering the National Football League as well. Before we wrap up the podcast show, guys, my next Live with CDP Sports Talk, brought to you by Barry Collins Chevrolet, to be announced. I am working on more guests for next week. So fingers crossed we can get some more guests on today. But today was season 5, episodes 17 and 18 today. So 238 episodes of Live with CDP podcast. And I thank you all for watching and listening as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk is live streamed on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. Thank you, everybody, for watching on these 5 platforms live as well. Also, guys, you can check out my official website at beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk is sponsored by Barry Collins Chevrolet Dealership, 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycollins.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call again at 519-824-0210. Shout out to Nathan Laud, who's one of the sales guys at Barry Collins Chevrolet and one of the nicest guys as well. You guys can also follow me on TikTok at Live with CDP. That's at Live with CDP on TikTok. I do a lot of live videos and post a lot of content for my podcast show on TikTok as well. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports Talk podcast. StreamYard is one of the best for webinars and doing podcasts. So check out StreamYard.com as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk podcast. The audio version is always on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Stitcher, Tuned In, and Podbean. And Live with CDP, the audio version, is now listened to by 22 countries across the world. So I just want to say thank you to everybody watching this live stream and listening to my audio platforms. It's amazing that 22 countries out there are enjoying my podcast show as well. Also, guys, you can follow me on all these social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, Chris Palme, or Live with CDP Sports Talk. And also, guys, you can follow me on LinkedIn at Chris Palme as well. And any comments or questions about my podcast show, please email me at cpalme, that's cpalme, Pomay 19 at gmail.com as well. Also, guys, I'm looking for more local businesses to sponsor Live with CDP Sports Talk. Obviously, I have Barry Collins Chevrolet here in Guelph, but I'm looking for businesses from Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, to come on aboard Live with CDP Sports Talk as well. So please email me at cpalme19 at gmail.com if you know somebody or a business that might be interested in sponsoring my podcast show as well. And also, guys, I'm looking for a business or an individual that can help me create a new opening video, voiceover, and new music for Live with CDP Sports Talk as well. So just contact me on my social media pages or send me an email again at cpalme19 at gmail.com. And guys, that's about it. Before I go, guys, I'm going to give you my NFL picks again, and I'm going to do them quick. I'm picking Cincinnati 31-20 over Buffalo, Philadelphia 24-17 over the Giants, Kansas City 31-17 over the Jaguars, and San Francisco in a nail biter 30-28 over those Dallas Cowboys. Dallas and San Francisco, this is their ninth meeting all time. Dallas and San Francisco have met 8 previous times. Dallas has won 5 out of the 8 as well. The Eagles against the Giants. The Eagles are 15-3 against the Giants in the last 18 games. Obviously, they went 2-0 this year. The Eagles have also won 9 straight games against the New York Giants at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia as well. And that Giants-Eagles game, Saturday night, 8:15 on Fox. The Kansas City Jaguar game is on Saturday at 4:30. And then the Sunday games, Cincinnati-Buffalo, 3 o'clock CBS. And then the late game is Dallas-San Francisco, 6:30 from Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California as well. But again, guys, I want to say thank you to my guest, Ben Volin, for giving me some time out of his busy schedule, especially covering the National Football League and the playoffs right now, for coming on Live with CDP Sports Talk, Season 5, Episode 18. And again, I will make an announcement on my social media pages this week when my next Live with CDP Sports Talk, brought to you by Barry Collins Chevrolet here in Guelph, will be. It'll be the next episode will be Season 5, Episode 19. But again, thanks to Ben Volin from the Boston Globe for coming on. And thank you, everybody, for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports Talk. And we'll see you guys very soon again on here. I hope everybody has a great night. And we'll talk to you soon on my social media platforms again. Good night, everybody, from CDP, your bro.